Hello everyone, welcome to Cristina Teaching Art, a place where I talk about visual arts, storytelling, and creativity. I'm excited to share with you a personal journey, a journey that transformed my drawing hobby into a creative career. I talk about this remarkable book written in the 1940s, a book that inspired me as a junior artist, but also as an educator in creative arts. And this is a timeless animation book that deserves a spot on every animation student reading list. But I also touch that intersection between creative arts and AI, and above all, this talk is a talk about where in our creative journey we need enthusiasm, passion, and consistency in order to fuel the growth. So let's begin. The book is called Cartoon Animation by Preston Blair, originally written in the 1940s. It's over 80 years old and has more than 200 pages of original content based on Blair's work from early Disney and MGM. And by the way, I'm going to include in the description a link for you to check it out on Internet Archives, since it's free to check it out. This book was for me a door opening, but now I look at it as a gold mine of fundamentals. This book is the book that I recommend to all my students when I'm designing a course, when I'm designing an animation curriculum, academically speaking. This is the book that I put in the reading list. So, me and the book. As I was saying, this book completely changed my career path, my perceptions about 20 years ago. Back then, I was an engineering student, a freshman, and I had this hobby to draw, and I love the old cartoons, right? Very typical profile. But when I discovered this book, I was just looking for some drawing materials. I wasn't looking to actually go and study deep. I was just fascinated by the world of cartoons, like many others. So I wasn't thinking as an art, I wasn't thinking the science behind it. I wasn't like trying to deeply understand concepts like movement, appeal, personality, what is a character, how to make drawings alive. No, so it was just pure fun, just doing the stuff. So when I first opened up this book and browsed it, a thought came in my mind back then. I was like, people are actually doing this for a living. It's a career, and you actually have books to study it. And remember, I was having books, but my books were on engineering. So in my world 20 years ago, nobody was talking, doing, thinking, or browsing these kind of books. Nobody was even considering a career or a long journey into animation or drawing. So let's go back to the book. Preston Blair was an animator during the golden age of animation. In the early 30s, he worked at Disney, working on Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia. At MGM, he worked on Red Hat Riding Hood, a very stylized and bold thing even today. Swing, Shift Cinderella, early Tom and Jerry. So this is the stuff, this is the influence that you're actually gonna see in this old book. So what makes this book so awesome, so alive? Now I'm wearing a teacher's hat. This book teaches you to think both as an animator but also as a designer. So I mean, it breaks down construction, proportions, facial expressions, attitude of a character, reaction, dialogue, lip sync. They're all fundamentals when you are a character artist. And of course, I mean, they're presented in a clear, playful, full of soul way. Then also addresses different types of characters, archetypes, both from the world of animals, birds, humans. It approaches archetypes like cute kid, goofy guy, big heavy guy, and this is the stuff that I want to show you from my own work. The girl heroine, the wicked witch, the dwarf, and many others. And when it talks about animation, it doesn't have that rigid, serious stuff about these are the 12 animation principles and let's take them one by one. No, it explains movement, the squash and stretch, the line of action, the overlaps, the rhythm, balance in both design and movement at the same time. Arcs, curves, path of action. Then goes also into composition, explaining that you need a focus point in your scene. And I remember that when I was like reading this, keeping the area around the center of interest free from distractions helps the audience to maintain focus. This is pure psychology. I didn't knew back then. But as I was saying, this book gives you and puts you in the world of animation where you find lots of insights. It addresses, as I said, acting, pantomime, mechanics of motion, 2 legs, 4 legs, even bird's flight. But it captures all this as an essence of movement. It emphasizes rough sketches, scribbles, and to maintain your focus on the fluidity of the motion, on the spontaneity of the motion, rather than being focused on perfecting the line or perfecting each individual detail. So this book, in this today's fast world past AI one-click magical button, it really grounds you and makes you appreciate the world behind what many of the people out there just consume the animation or entertaining world. By the way, I want to touch something about AI. Yes, I'm using AI alongside with my own art. I take my own art into AI and I see how can I enhance my storytelling. But here's the thing. AI fundamentally needs drawing skills, at least decent drawing skills. And on top of that, you need to add a certain level of human creativity in order to direct it alongside your own personal vision. So AI shouldn't replace the lack of skills. Rather, it should challenge you. It should challenge us to push and explore further what storytelling really means. But let me show you a little bit from my old work. As I said, when I first started to learn by myself, I was just like copying page by page, mimicking the techniques. Then I started to build my own characters by following the formula from the book. And I've done that on paper, and I had to dig out from my hard drive to to find out the old stuff, recreating the formula with my own artistic touch back then. Then I went into the software, and back then I was using Toon Boom Studio. Studio version no longer exists. Toon Boom is still out there. But I was learning the software by myself. So these are some of my old examples. Again, we are talking about a time where no YouTube, no tutorials, no one-click magical button, no how to search and you find someone saying something about you, no teacher. It was just me, the book, then the software. So looking at this, I have here the mafia guy and the bodyguard, and I think I worked for weeks recreating everything like in the book, construction, the skeleton, then the cleanup, then remake everything, the design. In my case, working on digitally, trying to add more personality just for fun. And I have found this old recording. I don't even remember when I recorded this back then. This is a little bit over 20 years ago. But I do remember the joy and the emotion, and I was feeling so skillful that my mafia guy can do a punch, because in my story, the character is an old boxer and now he's the bodyguard. And I was like feeling that I'm applying everything I'm learning, the way, the balance, the personality. Fast forward 20 years later, we have AI. Some look at it, one click magical button, and you type something, a little bit of narrative, you direct it, and then you see an amazing outcome. So it's not about that. Looking back, you see a whole lineup of ideas of working by yourself throughout a long journey. And this is the version, a remake version, which I've done, I think, 2-3 years ago in my mind to celebrate my 20 years anniversary of being in the world of animation. I just wanted to give a little bit more impact and personality, more appeal, and obviously to bring it into my current visual style. But the way I have done that, it's just touching a little bit the storytelling aspect. So for example, the mafia guy, the mafia leader, now has an extra layer of protection, the two fearless dogs, and the bodyguard, boxing skills are not just good enough anymore, so I gave him a machine gun. But if you look closely, they're not actually such big changes, because construction wise is the same, proportions are the same. Just tweaked some elements in order to give, as I said, a little bit more personality, more presence as characters, and just a little bit more artistic style. That's it. Everything else is the same. And to finish this talk, I want to read you some words, and I'm going to read them from my phone. Some advice by Preston Blair himself. So, towards the end of the book, he says, "My advice to the beginner is to first try to develop a sense of timing by animating and film testing a large and a small circle in various speeds in the patterns outlined throughout the book." So he's saying start learning animation with a circle, a bouncing ball. Then study the action of the patterns and learn to adjust the spacing of the animation to create the exact character action for the specific scene. Now he's saying that once you got used with motion in general, start to transform that circle into a character. You can then plan the timing so your animation will do whatever you visualize. That means you are starting to build a storytelling arc. And finally, you learn to think of animation in a series of motion picture frames and how to register takes, gesture, action, poses. This is the soul of a living character in the world of animation. So when I look back at my early drawings, I see more enthusiasm rather than skill, more passion rather than technique, and that's okay. Growth in art is slow. It's a progression, same as in life. Is built up throughout multiple studies, mistakes, revisions, rediscoveries. So this book didn't just teach me how to draw cartoons, didn't just teach me what is the world of animation. It literally nudged my passion towards this field, towards teaching the craft, and most importantly, towards a life around creativity. So if you are at the beginning of your creative journey, or perhaps somewhere in the messy middle, I call it, always go back and look at the fundamentals, appreciate the journey, study the classics, practice, be patient with yourself, simply because life comes with twists and turns, with journeys, and you never know which book, which moment, which person will quietly plant a seed in your journey. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Cristina, teaching art educator in creative visual arts, and I love to inspire my students with meaningful assignments. And sometimes these assignments are purely reflective. So here's one for you. Take a moment and reflect on the book that have profoundly impacted your journey, especially your creative journey. Perhaps was a book that you browsed when you were a kid, a book that you discovered in your 20s. Perhaps you're in your 30s and you just found out a book, you just found an artistic calling, or even perhaps you are in your 40s like myself. So, what is the thing that really nurtured your creative skills? So, until next time, keep drawing, keep creating, keep reflecting, and just be creative. Take care.
Read your books! Eat lead, you mugs! Nobody messes with me!